Hey everybody, it's Professor Malat. Welcome to the Week 11 overview. This week we are dealing with information and sources, how we can locate reliable sources to help us complete our research. So here, not all information is treated the same way. It's important when you begin to learn about research for academic purposes that you can discern between what is reliable and credible and what is what we call BS. This week, we're learning how to evaluate sources so you can provide quality research to help support your argument. So you're going to learn how to locate credible sources using the library database, implement correct MLA citation and format, choose a position or a stance related to your chosen topic, draft a working title, claim, and thesis statement. That's actually in preparation for next week, and evaluate sources for suitability for your topic. There are a lot of resources that I have made available for you this week. I also have a separate video that walks you through the library resources that I will be asking you to utilize in your research. But let's take a look at this week's reading. We're on to grammar again. We have grammar quiz number 7 coming up, and that is on modifiers. I will open up the Grammarly page here so that you know what we're doing, what are modifiers, how to use them correctly, and they have examples. So a modifier is a word that modifies or changes the sentence's meaning. So let's look at these two examples. We have I rode the train, and then I rode the earliest train into the city. So see here the words that are bolded tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the sentence. It makes things more descriptive, more detailed. It can make the meaning clearer. It can make the sentence more specific, or simply make it more engaging, more interesting to the reader. So usually we use either adjectives or adverbs, right? We have adjective phrases and we have adverbs that help to modify the meaning, help to describe, help to add detail to the sentence that we are writing. So modifier phrases can be adverbial, that is dealing with verbs, dealing with verbs, describing verbs, or adjectival phrases. So phrases like beneath the car, a somewhat slow, without a care. So just make sure that you read through all of the examples that are given here, especially paying attention to what's called squinting and dangling modifiers, because those are often misplaced modifiers that change the meaning of the sentence unintentionally, right? A couple of examples are after reading the book, the movie was great. Well, what does that mean, right? And before leaving, a squirrel crossed the sidewalk. Well, who is leaving and who was reading the book? It doesn't really tell us all that much. So sometimes you have to guess at when you have sentences like this, you have to guess at what the writer is trying to say. And it's often awkward or choppy and can be difficult to decipher. And that's because the modifiers aren't actually modifying any nouns. So a more clear way to write these sentences above would be after reading the book, I thought the movie was great, right? Before leaving, I watched a squirrel cross the sidewalk. The squinting modifier means that the modifier is unclear because it's placed in a way that makes it just as applicable to the word before it as it is to the word following it. Again, you can read through the examples so you understand those different types of modifier, misplaced modifiers, and how modifiers work within sentences. So please make sure you take a look at that before you attempt grammar quiz number 7. I also have from the writer's practice a recommendation that you should read pages 135 to 140 in the PDF, why should I trust this? And this is dealing with understanding sources and evaluating them. There is also a module from the University of Mississippi Ret Lab called Evaluating Sources. This is very important information, so please don't skip over that. Remember, I want you to read the whole module, which means that you have to navigate through by clicking Next at the bottom of the page. So it takes you through the outcome and then tells you a bit about scholarly and non-scholarly sources, the different types of sources, print, digital, online, what the differences are, multimedia, what that means. Let's see the next page. Print sources goes into greater detail. It also talks about the CRAAP analysis or the CRAAP test of sources. CRAAP stands for currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. And I have some other resources out on Canvas for you that will help you to understand the CRAAP test and how you can use that to evaluate sources that you are potentially going to use in your research. But here they have some practice for the CRAAP test or the CRAAP analysis. And then they also talk about the online sources, as well as using currency, relevance, authority, so on and so forth with that. So it is several pages. And let's see where we end up. Oh, and then lastly, they address multimedia sources and what you need to be on the lookout for in regards to the various criteria of the CRAAP test. So several pages, but I encourage you to read through all of it, and it culminates in putting it together, evaluating sources, the things that you want to remember. Again, we also have additional resources on our Canvas page. There is a Canvas page for Google and Wikipedia for research. Oftentimes students are told in their high school classes that they should not use Wikipedia. But Wikipedia as a source really isn't great, right? However, as a resource, it can be really good, right? In the case of Wikipedia, you have to move beyond it to find a variety of sources and perspectives that speak to your research questions. It can be a great jumping off point, but as a source that you would cite, it really is frowned upon in academic writing because it is unreliable. So many people, just about anybody, can go in and edit a Wikipedia page and put inaccurate information, which is why we cannot rely on Wikipedia. Google as a search can be fantastic. Again, it can be a good jumping off point. However, as your sole source of research, again, you really have to be careful as far as what comes up in your searches to make sure that those are reliable and credible sources that you're coming up with. There is a resource called Google Scholar that is much more reliable because it takes you to peer-reviewed academic sources that have already been vetted. So it's important to understand how you can use Google and Wikipedia as tools to help you with your research, but not to rely on them solely as your source of information. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, the readings for this week that I want you to read both of these because they're related to the source evaluation. The first one is Stop Googling, Let's Talk by researcher Sherry Turkle. Turkle is a researcher at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This is what she has been writing about for, I would say, the bulk of her career, researching digital technology and how that affects us as people. And then Chicky Davis is a researcher on happiness. So make sure that you read these two sources. I also have a couple of recommended sources. One is an infographic. I did not go through and put any descriptions for this visual resource. So I apologize if you are visually impaired. That's why I don't make this required reading. But at least if you are able to view the infographic and read through the various platforms that are discussed here, you'll get a little bit of something from it. Again, talking about information and evaluating sources. And then we have this Canvas page. Does your source pass the CRAAP test? It's taken from this one. What is the UAF? I can't remember which university it is, but it's taken from an online writing class as well. And so it just is a list of questions relating to each of the criteria for the CRAAP test, questions to think about when you are confronting a source to make sure it is the most reliable. So put it through and ask these questions as you start looking at sources, and this will help you to evaluate the source for its suitability. As I said before, I have a whole separate video on library resources, the UC library resources, that's dealing with this link here in Canvas. I highly recommend that you watch this so that you understand what things are available to you, especially as online students. The online card catalog, the online search, it's called Summon. It talks about, what else do I talk about? The A to Z databases, the Academic Search Complete database, and the Points of View Reference Center database. They're all very important resources that will help you in your writing, not only in this class, but in your future English classes, as well as any other classes where you might have to do some kind of a research paper or a research project. I also have a short video evaluating sources for credibility. This one is from the University of Cincinnati Library website, and it's a helpful one as well. That's a very short video. And then I also have some recommended ones if you have time. This playlist from Crash Course, Navigating Digital Information, is incredibly informative. It's a really, really good quality series. I think he has like maybe 8 videos in that series, but there's the 2 that relate to what we're dealing with this week in our topic. Who Can You Trust? And I have some notes for that video. And then there's one called Using Wikipedia, which goes a little bit more into not only why Wikipedia is usually frowned upon, but how you can use it as a tool to help jumpstart your research. The assignments this week are, as I said before, grammar quiz number 7, and then a worksheet on source evaluation. I will open this one up so that you can see it and I can talk a little bit more about it. So after you've done the reading from the writer's practice this week, and if you want to skip that, you can, but then make sure that you watch that crash course video. They're both talking about the same topic. Who can I trust? Should I trust this source? Make sure to follow the steps that Warner outlines in the prompt. The goal is to start to think critically about information that you confront on a daily basis. And when you can understand what a source is saying and what they're arguing and its credibility, research can become a little less daunting. So again, watch the short video evaluating sources from UC Library and do the readings of Stop Googling, Let's Talk and 4 Ways Technology Can Make You Happier. Then I want you to choose only one of the articles to evaluate for this. I'm not going to force you to do both of them, but choose one that you most likely think you might incorporate into your paper. It makes more sense to evaluate the one that you are potentially going to use but if you're not sure, then just, pick whichever one you think might be easier to evaluate. And then complete the source evaluation assignment by copying and pasting the criteria below into a document and upload your file for submission. So choose one of the articles above and evaluate the credibility of it using the questions in this chart, in this worksheet. If you can't locate the author's or the creator's name, then put an NA in that space. Of course, I used this for a different assignment where I wasn't asking students to evaluate a particular source, but of course, make sure that you have the title of the source, that would be the article title, as well as the person who has written it. Then you should be able to find the publication date. If I open up this PDF, let me make sure, let me make sure that you are seeing what I am seeing. So this date up here, ignore that date. The date that you want to look for here is under the title, right? Under the title and under the author's name. There you find the publication date. This is just the date that I saved the article. Likewise, in the second source, 4 ways technology can make you happier, you will see the date right here. So 2015 and 2019 are the dates of publication. Once again, we'll go into that. If you can find the URL, I should have left those open. There's usually a URL at the top or at the bottom of the page. If you can find it, put it in. If not, no big deal. Then look at the authority. What is the person's background, education, or training? You may find that in the article, or you might have to go to that supplementary resources handout that I talked about in last week, in week 10. So you should have that downloaded to your computer so you have access to it, so you don't have to constantly log into Canvas to find it. You should have it there in your files so that you can open it up and look at the various links. Or you could just Google the person's name, the author's name, to see if you can find some kind of bio page on them. Who published the information? So that would be what publication did it appear in, New York Times or something else. Who is the primary audience? That's up to you to decide based on what you've read and where the publication, where the article appeared and what publication. You can figure out who the primary audience might have been. The point of view. Does the point of view appear objective and are impartial? Is the information appealing to the emotions or a certain type of bias? Remember that John Green, in his video, Who Can I Trust?, talks about point of view or perspective. And this is really making sure that it's objective, impartial, unbiased type of information, right? And of course, most things are not completely free of some kind of bias or have a particular perspective. But when we can understand a writer's perspective, where they're coming from, then that can help you understand and evaluate a little bit better. Of course, you want to look for the purpose. Is the information presented as facts or opinions? And why was the information created? Was it to inform, persuade, report, entertain? Again, think if you watch the John Green video, he talks about how with the perspective, there is also some kind of, the perspective might influence the content that one produces. It could be opinion, analysis, perspective, viewpoint, which are all persuasive forms in publications versus being informative. So if, for example, it says opinion at the top of the page, then you know that it's a persuasive piece, and that is the primary purpose of it. Again, does the author or the creator cite any sources? Do they have references, works cited? Does that article have any hyperlinks that you're able to click on in the PDF? If they're included, are those credible sources, or are they just linking to somebody's blog, or, that kind of thing? So I really want you to think about evaluating one of these articles. It's perfectly fine to be critical of the things that I'm assigning, right? Because you'll find that some of them are really strong and credible, and others might not quite be as strong. They may be somewhat credible, or they may have a certain perspective to help you think more about the topic at hand, right? Does technology make us happy? So those are the two assignments that are due Sunday, November 5th. Keep in mind that we are going to be rolling right into the rough draft. Next week is week 12. You have to have some kind of idea of what your stance is, and you'll be working on a working thesis and a working title. And then week 13, we have the rough draft due. That's right before Thanksgiving. And then, we have Thanksgiving week, and right after that is the final week of classes that meet. And that will be the final draft of this essay. So it's really important that you start thinking about it, and that you have some idea of which articles you're going to be dealing with, and then looking at some of those sources. It's going to go quickly. I don't want you to panic, but I do want you to be prepared and to plan ahead if you're able to. That way, if you can manage your time around this writing project, it will be a little bit more manageable for you. So that's it for this week. If you have any questions for me, you know how to get in touch with me. If you are struggling, or if you fall behind for whatever reason and you need a little bit of an extension to get the work done, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am happy to work with you. This class has been incredible as far as getting things in a timely manner. I'm really impressed with your work ethic and your dedication to this class. I'm actually really impressed by this group of students. So keep up the good work. And I want you to finish this semester strong. So if you have any questions or you need any help from me, please email me, or you can send me a text. I'm happy to work with you. I can set up a Zoom meeting if you want to do a Zoom meeting, or if you want to just communicate through email, that's fine too. Whatever makes you the most comfortable. All right, have a fantastic week, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.